In the criminal justice system, the people,
pimps, addicts, thieves, bums, winos, girls who can't keep an address, and men who don't care,
are represented by two separate yet equally important groups.
A cop, a flatfoot, a bull, a dick, John Law. You're the fuzz, the heat, you're poison, you're trouble, you're bad news.
These are their stories.
Today, the big law and disorder story is in a courtroom in Manhattan, where they are trying to get a jury impaneled for Donald Trump's trial. The thing I would tell you, and then I want to share with you what he said as he was going into court. Tony has that ready to go, but I wanted to mention that this is something that made the absurdity of Donald Trump's candidacy in 2016 so clear to New Yorkers. Donald Trump is a fraud. Donald Trump is a failed businessman. Donald Trump is all show and no go. Donald Trump is a grifter. New Yorkers know this. The rest of the country was sucked in by The Apprentice and him walking in a slow motion way to a helicopter that says Trump. They were sucked in by the Mark Burnett show. So when you choose a jury from that crowd that knows what I just told you, it's a little harder for Trump to find jurors who don't, in a sense, not only know his story, but know his story as Manhattanites and what a fraud he is. That's not to say that they can't impanel an objective jury. They may be able to. And it's not a question of not knowing who he is. Everybody knows who he is and everybody knows. But it's a question of being able to truly evaluate evidence and then objectively make a determination. So the one thing I would say is that even on this show, we're upfront with our bias. I just told you my run on Donald Trump. But that doesn't mean that if he were to do something that I agreed with, I wouldn't say, I actually agree. You'll remember in the run-up, those who were KGO listeners, I talked about the fact that he called out the fraud of the Iraq War. I thought that was a great thing. He did it on stage in a debate. So, and I said, bravo to Trump for doing that. I'm capable of objectively evaluating things. Now, by now, I'm not saying that I would be a fair juror. The guy, to me, it's clearly guilty. I would say, Your Honor, I don't need to sit on the jury. I mean, it seems clear based on everything I've read.
Well, you wouldn't be alone, because CNN is providing live updates of the trial, and they say the judge asked potential jurors if they can be fair and impartial, and more than half in the first group said they can't, and they were dismissed. They're like, nope, I can't be
Well, I'm telling you, man, this Manhattan scene is not a Trump-friendly scene. They are aware of who he is.
What can you tell us about the scene?
I can tell you it's not a Trump-friendly scene, Larry. So here is Trump going into court this morning. Go ahead, Tony.
This is an assault on America. Nothing like this has ever happened before. There's never been anything like it. Every legal scholar says this case is nonsense. It should never have been brought. It doesn't deserve anything like this. There is no case, and they've said it. People that don't necessarily follow or like Donald Trump said this is an outrage that this case was brought. This is political persecution. This is a persecution like never before. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And again, it's a case that should have never been brought. It's an assault on America. And that's why I'm very proud to be here. This is an assault on our country. And it's a country that's failing. It's a country that's run by an incompetent man who's very much involved in this case. This is really an attack on a political opponent. That's all it is. So I'm very honored to be here. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Tony. That was well done. And he did use the phrase.
There's never been anything like this.
He used it multiple times. So you got to play the hits, I always say. When you're going into court, you got to play the hits. Give the people what they want. But we've seen some pretty high-wire courtroom stuff in this country. We mentioned the OJ trial, probably the trial of the century, they were calling it. Everyone witnessed it. It was a televised trial of a clearly guilty defendant. But no, Donald, it is you finally being held accountable, says Judy. But this is the first time you have a former president involved in something. He should have just admitted to the payoff and not cooked the books. Everyone got bored with affairs after Clinton. Yeah, Josh is really right about this. You understand that paying off the porn star was not illegal, okay? Asking her to be quiet, paying her off for her silence, that was not illegal, okay? Messing around on his wife, that's not illegal either. It's probably happening right now in, any number of ways everywhere. And the illegal part, and this is what he's being busted on, was the way he forged or manipulated the books to accommodate that expenditure. That's being drawn with a line toward wanting to keep things quiet so that it wouldn't be a politically volatile situation for him.
It's always the cover-up, right?
And that makes it a felony. So we'll talk more about this, but it was the line that's drawn between those two things, the manipulation of the books and why he did it, that becomes critical in terms of it being a felony. Of all the cases against Donald Trump, you know how I feel about this. This is not the one that I would have wished was brought first. It's just the way the docket works. The one that I wish would be and this isn't even the most significant, but it's the one that I feel is so easy to understand. And when it comes to the message that voters and people in this country need to get about this guy, I think it was the clearest, and that is the document case, where so many documents were jacked from the White House, taken to Bedminster, taken to Manhattan, taken to Mar-a-Lago. It's inexplicable, meaning you literally can't explain it, why you would possibly do it. And then the brandishing of those documents, showing them off to people without security clearance, storing them in a bathroom, in a ballroom, in ways that have the least security you could possibly imagine, in your bedroom, in a bedroom closet, in a desk, all in places the public within Mar-a-Lago, many of those places they had access to. So I guess what I'm getting at is, in a perfect world, I would have liked that case to come first because I think it is so completely indefensible. And there's no explanation for why you do it. Tell me why you would take those documents. Well, I think they were mine. Okay, but still, why did you take them? You thought they were yours, but well, I just take them because I like to take stuff that's mine. You took military secrets involving Iran and military strategies. You took those with you to your private residence. So you begin to see how I think that would have been a very rough news cycle for him, enough tough trial for him, and it would have pointed up what he is, which is a guy who's completely unfit for office. But we're not going to see that case potentially, maybe ever. There are all the boxes in the bathroom. I'm sure that's the way your bathroom looks, but probably your boxes aren't top secret documents. I mean, we know that if you have boxes in your bathroom, and there's simply nothing wrong with that, I know for sure that there are no top secret documents.
Do you not have reading material in your
Thank you.
in your potty?
I have the New Yorker.
Right.
I have a couple of books. I don't have, none of them are top secret though. So there they are. That's the case I would have liked to have seen come first. Of course, the J6 case, in which a president is trying to undermine an election and overthrow the government because he doesn't want to leave office, that's the case with the greatest significance.
Here's the question with the jury selection. How do you find a juror in the United States of America, let alone New York, who doesn't have an opinion on Trump? I mean, it seems like unless you're hiding under a rock, you know who he is, and you either, for whatever reason, love him or despise him, right? There's not really much of a middle ground here. So how do you find people to sit on a jury that don't have an opinion? And if you admit that everyone is going to come into it with an opinion, whether or not they can be impartial, then don't you always automatically have a case for appeal?
So the way that jury selection works in a case like this, as I understand it, is, again, not that you not that you don't know who Trump is, not that that you don't even have an opinion about him, but that on this case, you are able to evaluate the evidence and not let your opinion of the defendant in any way infect your ultimate judgment. And so that's the question that they're asking. And I promise you, they may be asking it almost literally that way, which is, I know you have an opinion of this defendant. I know you're familiar with this defendant. Do you still think you could sit and evaluate evidence? And if there is enough exculpatory evidence here, if there are problems with the prosecution's case, could you acquit this defendant of wrongdoing in this case? And people do answer those questions and actually respond as jurors in some surprising ways. Even people you'd think, well, he's a Trumpy, so he would never rule against Trump, or, you know, she thinks Trump's a piece of garbage, so she'd never rule. But, oh, wait, she's capable of actually acting responsibly as a juror and objectively evaluating what we have here. It does happen. So definitely made more difficult, but it's, again, it's about being impartial, exactly as Karen says.
You should be dinged for exculpatory for sure.
Exculpatory is a ding word, you're right. Juries are tough, you know, juries are tough. But anyway, this is a very interesting case. You just heard his comments. I mean, that's no surprise. Apparently he was dozing off a bit in court. I mean, court is dull.
And he has to be there.
It's dull, and yeah, he has to be there, and it's especially dull now when they're just picking out jurors, you know. And, you know, he's used to evaluating women how hot they are, not jurors how objective they are, okay? So that's the story on Donald Trump, and that is Law and Disorder for today.
Tune in again next time for more Law and Disorder on The Mark Thompson Show.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out there.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.